Russia started by copying foreign designs and ended up building the most produced tanks in history. Here's how they did it, and every tank they've ever made. Let's begin with World War I and Civil War. Vezdechod. Russia's very first tank attempt literally translates to all-terrain vehicle. This bizarre experimental machine looked more like a moving garden shed than a weapon of war. Only one prototype was built before the Bolshevik Revolution ended its development forever. Renault FT copy. After capturing French tanks during the intervention, Soviet engineers reverse-engineered this revolutionary design, called the Russian Renault. These crude copies became the foundation for early Red Army armor doctrine during the chaotic Civil War period. Mark V composite. British tanks captured from the White Army were pressed into desperate service. These massive rhomboid beasts fought for both sides during the brutal Civil War before mechanical breakdowns and parts shortages ended their careers permanently. Whippet medium tank. Faster British tanks that the Soviets captured and used extensively during pursuit operations. Their speed made them valuable for mobile warfare during the sprawling campaigns across the vast Russian steppes and frozen tundra. Now let's look at the interwar period. MS-1 T-18. The very first Soviet-designed tank entering mass production. This tiny machine borrowed heavily from French concepts, but with Russian simplifications for easier manufacturing. It served primarily as a training platform, teaching the Red Army how to actually build and maintain armored vehicles. T-24 medium tank. An incredibly ambitious attempt to create a modern medium tank featuring a rotating turret and advanced suspension improvements. Only a tiny handful were built before the design was deemed far too complex and prohibitively expensive for mass production. T-27 Tanket. Essentially a tracked motorcycle wearing thin metal sheets, based directly on British Carden Loyd designs. Thousands were built for reconnaissance missions. They were dirt cheap, mechanically simple, and absolutely useless in any real combat situation. T-37 Amphibious Tank. A truly revolutionary swimming tankette designed for rapid river crossings. Its unique ability to ford water made it valuable for reconnaissance operations, though its paper-thin armor and single machine gun made it vulnerable to literally everything on the battlefield. T-26 Light Tank. Based on the excellent British Vickers 6-ton design, this became the absolute backbone of early Soviet armor strength. Simple, reasonably reliable, and produced in absolutely massive numbers, it dominated the entire 1930s before becoming hopelessly obsolete by 1941. BT-2 Fast Tank. The very first Soviet Christie tank, featuring truly revolutionary suspension technology. It could run on tracks or wheels, reaching absolutely incredible speeds on paved roads. This radical mobility-focused design influenced Soviet armor philosophy for the next several decades. BT-5 Fast Tank. A significantly improved version, mounting a proper 45mm gun in a completely new turret design. Faster and much better armed than the BT-2, it equipped cavalry mechanized units specifically designed for deep penetration operations behind enemy lines. BT-7 Fast Tank. The ultimate evolution of the entire BT series, featuring substantially improved armor and a much more powerful engine. Its distinctively sloped turret clearly anticipated future design trends that would revolutionize tank warfare. Thousands fought desperately in 1941 before being completely overwhelmed. T-28 Medium Tank. A genuine multi-turret monster, featuring a main turret plus 2 additional machine gun turrets mounted up front. While visually intimidating, coordinating 3 separate turrets proved absolutely impossible in actual combat situations. It served primarily as a breakthrough tank during the brutal Finnish Winter War. T-35 Heavy Tank. The ultimate pre-war engineering folly, a genuine land battleship sporting 5 turrets and requiring 11 crew members to operate. Massive, painfully slow, and chronically mechanically unreliable, most broke down long before reaching any combat during the catastrophic 1941 disasters. T-38 Amphibious Tank. A modestly improved swimming tankette, featuring better ergonomics and crew comfort. Still extremely lightly armed and armored, it served exclusively in reconnaissance roles. Most were completely destroyed in the opening brutal weeks of Operation Barbarossa. T-40 Amphibious Tank. The final pre-war amphibious design, mounting a somewhat better 20mm autocannon. Better armed than all earlier models, it could still swim across rivers, but remained hopelessly inadequate against any proper enemy tanks. T-50 Light Tank. And genuinely excellent light tank design featuring surprisingly good armor and a respectable 45mm gun. Unfortunately complex and prohibitively expensive to build, only extremely limited numbers were produced before factories desperately evacuated eastward. Those few built proved remarkably effective but came far too late. Moving on to World War II, the Great Patriotic War. T-34-76 Model 1940. The legendary tank that fundamentally changed everything about armored warfare forever. Revolutionary sloped armor, exceptionally wide tracks, and a powerful 76mm gun created an absolute design shock that forced Germany to completely rethink their entire armor strategy. Early models suffered from severe vision problems and terrible ergonomic issues. T-34-76, model 1941. Drastically simplified for desperate mass production during absolutely catastrophic times. Cast turrets completely replaced welded construction, and countless small changes allowed significantly faster manufacturing rates. Quality suffered dramatically, but sheer quantity kept the Red Army fighting through the darkest days. T-34-76, model 1942. Further simplified with a completely new hexagonal turret design, every single unnecessary component was ruthlessly eliminated to maximize production speed. Crude but brutally effective, these poured from hastily evacuated factories deep in the Ural Mountains. T-34-76, model 1943. The final 76mm version, finally featuring a proper commander's cupola for dramatically better vision. This directly addressed one of the T-34's most crippling weaknesses throughout the war. It remained the absolute standard medium tank until the vastly superior 85mm gun arrived. T-34-85. The ultimate T-34 evolution, mounting a truly massive 85mm gun in a spacious three-man turret. Finally, desperately outgunned Soviet tankers could effectively engage fearsome German Tigers and Panthers on reasonably equal terms. This became the definitive version, serving faithfully for many decades worldwide. KV-1 model 1939. Named after the powerful Marshal Kliment Voroshilov, this genuine 45-ton monster absolutely terrorized German forces throughout 1941. Its incredibly thick armor was completely immune to every German anti-tank gun in service. Single isolated KV-1s famously held up entire German divisions at absolutely critical choke points. KV-1 model 1940. A meaningfully improved version featuring much better transmission systems and slightly enhanced armor protection. Still chronically plagued by terrible mechanical unreliability, but its near-complete invulnerability made it absolutely invaluable during desperate defensive battles throughout the early war. KV-1 model 1941. Featuring substantial additional armor plates crudely welded directly onto the hull and turret. As German anti-tank guns steadily improved, the KV-1 desperately gained weight but catastrophically lost mobility. Mechanical reliability worsened dramatically as the tank became progressively heavier. KV-1, model 1942. The final production version featuring a cast turret and heavily simplified production methods. By this critical point, improved German guns could finally penetrate it reliably, and its abysmal mobility made it a genuine liability. Vastly better designs were desperately needed immediately. KV-1S, a drastically lightened fast version deliberately sacrificing substantial armor for desperately needed mobility. The transmission finally worked reasonably properly, but the severe armor reduction made it dangerously vulnerable. It awkwardly bridged the gap, while significantly better heavy tanks were frantically developed. KV-2. An absolute siege monster, mounting a truly massive 152mm howitzer in an enormous box-shaped turret. Specifically designed to utterly destroy stubborn Finnish bunkers, its absurdly towering profile made it tragically vulnerable to everything. When it actually worked, absolutely nothing survived its devastating shells. T-60 light tank, a genuinely desperate wartime design, hastily built in converted automobile factories during the chaotic 1941 evacuation. Armed only with a pathetic 20mm autocannon and featuring laughably thin armor, terrified crews grimly called it a metal coffin for obvious reasons. T-70 light tank, a somewhat improved version finally mounting a proper 45mm gun and marginally better armor protection. Still painfully cramped with a miserable one-man turret, but definitely better than absolutely nothing. Its robust chassis later became the foundation for the surprisingly successful Su-76 assault gun. T-80 light tank, a further improved light tank featuring better armor and a significantly more powerful engine. Only severely limited numbers were built before production shifted entirely to medium tanks and desperately needed assault guns for infantry support. IS-1, IS-85. The very first Joseph Stalin heavy tank, mounting a powerful 85mm gun, substantially better armored and far more mechanically reliable than the problematic KV series. It represented a completely new generation of Soviet heavy tanks for offensive operations. IS-2, the ultimate Soviet heavy tank, featuring a truly massive 122mm gun capable of destroying absolutely any German vehicle ever produced. At precisely 46 tons, it brilliantly combined devastating firepower, excellent armor protection, and reasonably acceptable mobility. It proudly led the final victorious assault directly into Germany itself. IS-3. the genuinely revolutionary post-war design featuring an innovative pike nose and remarkably low profile that profoundly influenced global tank design for many decades afterward. Arriving tragically too late for any actual combat, it absolutely shocked horrified Western observers at the triumphant Berlin victory parades. Continuing with early Cold War, T-44, a genuinely advanced medium tank featuring a space-saving transverse engine and dramatically improved armor layout. Arriving in late 1944, it saw extremely limited combat, but its revolutionary design became the critical foundation for the absolutely legendary T-54 that followed. T-54, the single most produced tank in human history, with over 95,000 eventually built worldwide. Its brilliant combination of excellent firepower, solid armor protection, and good mobility definitively set the standard for all post-war tank design. Simple, remarkably reliable, and brutally effective, it armed literally dozens of nations globally. T-55, a meaningfully improved T-54 completely eliminating the vulnerable hull machine gun and adding a protective anti-radiation liner for terrifying nuclear battlefields. Further simplified and even more reliable, it became exponentially more ubiquitous than its already legendary predecessor throughout the entire world. PT-76, a specialized light amphibious tank specifically designed for reconnaissance operations and rapid river crossings. Its unique ability to swim across water obstacles made it tactically unique, though its extremely thin armor and modest 76mm guns severely limited combat effectiveness against any proper enemy tanks. T-10, the final Soviet heavy tank series, direct successors to the famous IS tanks. Mounting a still powerful 122mm gun, they were specifically designed for crucial breakthrough operations. The entire heavy tank category was permanently abandoned as universal main battle tanks became completely dominant. Object 2079, a truly bizarre experimental heavy tank sporting 4 separate tracks and a distinctive flying saucer-shaped hull, specifically designed to survive nearby nuclear shockwaves. Only one strange prototype was ever built before the entire impractical concept was sensibly abandoned forever. Object 770, an important experimental medium tank extensively testing advanced suspension systems and fire control technologies. Many of its hard-won innovations were eventually incorporated into later successful production tanks, though it never entered actual service itself. Now let's look at late Cold War era. T-62, the very first Soviet tank, mounting a revolutionary smoothbore gun. The powerful 115mm cannon offered dramatically improved armor penetration capabilities. Its distinctively low profile and reasonably good armor made it quite effective, though the painfully cramped interior and frustratingly slow reload severely limited overall combat performance. T-64, a genuinely revolutionary design featuring advanced composite armor, an automatic loader, and a powerful engine packed into a remarkably compact package. Extremely complex and prohibitively expensive, it was carefully reserved for elite units facing NATO forces directly in Eastern Europe. T-72, the deliberately simplified mass-production version of the sophisticated T-64, specifically designed for widespread global deployment. Considerably cheaper and significantly more reliable, it rapidly became the absolute standard Soviet tank and the single most exported tank design in human history. T-80, a powerful gas turbine-powered evolution of the T-64, offering truly superior acceleration and excellent cold weather starting capability. The turbine consumed fuel absolutely voraciously, but provided exceptional mobility for critical frontline units. T-64BV, a substantially upgraded T-64 featuring revolutionary explosive reactive armor tiles that effectively defeated dangerous anti-tank missiles. These clever explosive blocks completely revolutionized tank protection philosophy, allowing significantly older designs to successfully survive modern battlefield threats. T-72B, a massively improved T-72, featuring substantially better armor, a more powerful gun, and protective reactive armor coverage. This important variant finally brought the simplified production tank up to the exacting standards of the far more complex T-64 and T-80 designs. T-80U, the ultimate Soviet gas turbine tank featuring advanced fire control systems, dramatically better armor protection, and improved ammunition types. Genuinely one of the most capable tanks anywhere in the world when it finally entered frontline service throughout the 1980s. Object 87, a crucial experimental tank extensively testing advanced technologies, including improved armor schemes and fire control systems. Many of its successful features were directly incorporated into the T-90 that eventually entered full production after the Soviet collapse. Object 299, a truly radical experimental design featuring an unmanned turret and entire crew protected in the hull. The automatic loader allowed a minimal 3-man crew entirely protected deep in the armored chassis. far too advanced for that particular era. Object 477, an extremely ambitious project featuring a massive 152mm gun and revolutionary advanced armor protection. The catastrophic collapse of the Soviet Union permanently killed the promising project before working prototypes could ever be completed. Finally, we have post-Soviet era. T-90, Russia's very first post-Soviet tank, essentially an extensively upgraded T-72 incorporating successful T-80U features. Considerably cheaper than the T-80, it rapidly became Russia's primary tank for both lucrative export sales and domestic military use during economically difficult times. T-90A, a major comprehensive upgrade featuring a properly welded turret, substantially better fire controls, and improved armor protection. This important variant brought the T-90 up to genuinely modern international standards, while carefully maintaining the attractively low cost that made it so appealing. T-90M, the latest evolution featuring a completely redesigned turret with advanced digital sensors, dramatically better armor protection, and improved crew comfort. This represents the absolute peak of the entire T-72/design lineage after decades of continuous development. Black Eagle, Object 640, an interesting experimental T-80 derivative featuring a distinctive rear-mounted turret bustle with protected ammunition storage. Severe economic problems permanently killed the promising program before it could progress beyond crude mock-ups and proposals. T-95, Object 195, an extremely ambitious next-generation design featuring an unmanned turret and massive 152mm gun. Working prototypes were actually built and extensively tested before crippling budget constraints forced cancellation in favor of simpler, cheaper designs. T-14 Armata, Russia's revolutionary modern tank featuring a fully unmanned turret and crew capsule deep in the protected hull. Advanced active protection systems, composite armor, and comprehensive digital systems make it one of the most advanced tank designs on paper today. T-15 Armata, a heavy infantry fighting vehicle built on the same versatile Armata chassis. Its exceptional heavy armor and powerful 30mm autocannon make it one of the most heavily protected troop carriers ever designed anywhere. Armata T-16, a projected recovery vehicle variant of the flexible Armata universal platform. Like other Armata family vehicles, actual production has been severely limited due to high costs and significant technical challenges with the revolutionary design. Let's finish with experimental and concept vehicle. Tsar Tank, the single most bizarre Russian armored vehicle ever seriously conceived by engineers. This absurd WWY-era monster featured two absolutely massive 9-meter diameter wheels and a tiny trailing wheel. One prototype was actually built before common sense finally prevailed. Object 906, an innovative light amphibious tank prototype that never entered full production. Its clever, innovative design significantly influenced later Soviet light tank development, despite extremely limited numbers being built. Object 120, an experimental tank destroyer mounting a truly massive 152mm gun on a T-10 heavy tank chassis. Nicknamed Chieftain, its enormous gun could destroy literally any target, but the vehicle was dangerously unbalanced and hopelessly impractical. Object 268, a heavily armored tank destroyer based directly on the T-10 heavy tank chassis. Its thick frontal armor and powerful 152mm gun made it genuinely formidable, but the heavy tank destroyer concept was rapidly becoming obsolete. Object 430, an important medium tank prototype that directly competed with the T-64 for production contracts. While not ultimately selected, its efficient diesel engine technology significantly influenced later designs, including the successful T-72. IT-1 missile tank, a truly revolutionary design completely replacing the traditional main gun with an anti-tank missile launcher system. The radical concept proved far ahead of its time, and the vehicle was quietly withdrawn after extremely limited service. Object 288, a complex twin-engine experimental tank testing multiple independent power plants for redundancy. The ambitious concept was far too complex and heavy, and simpler single-engine designs quickly proved more practical. This represents the complete evolution of Soviet and Russian armor from desperate revolutionary experiments to sophisticated modern digital warfare machines. From the chaos of the Civil War to the high-tech Armata platform, Soviet tank design has consistently prioritized simplicity, reliability, and mass production over complexity.